a shadow of doubt fell upon Fingon's heart, and he looked eastwards, seeking if he might see with elven sight the dust of Anfauglith rising beneath the hosts of Maedhros. Her robe was blue as summer skies, but grey as evening were her eyes. 'Twas sown with golden lilies fair, but dark as shadow was her hair. But fairer than all the wonders of Gondolin was Idril, Turgon's daughter, she that was called Celebrindal, the Silverfoot, whose hair was as the gold of Laurelin before the coming of Melkor. Tuor Eladal was fair of face. Tuor was strong, tall, and valiant. He wielded Thramborleg, a mighty great axe. Ecthelion wore silver garb and a silver-spiked helmet, with which he killed the Balrog. Listen to The Doom of the Noldor. Link in the description. Yellow-haired Glorfindel during the fall of Gondolin. Maeglin resembled in face and form rather his kindred of the Noldor. The elves of Gondolin awaiting the sunrise for the Tarnin Austa. Arwen Undomiel. Young she was and yet not so. The braids of her dark hair were touched by no frost. Her white arms and clear face were flawless and smooth. And the light of stars was in her bright eyes, grey as a cloudless night. Yet queenly she looked, and thought and knowledge were in her glance, as of one who has known many things that the years bring. Above her brow her head was covered with a cap of silver lace netted with small gems, glittering white. But her soft grey raiment had no ornament save a girdle of leaves wrought in silver. Aragorn, Strider, Elessar. A strange-looking, weather-beaten man sitting in the shadow near the wall was also listening intently to the hobbit talk. A travel-stained cloak of heavy dark green cloth was drawn close about him, and in spite of the heat of the room, he wore a hood that overshadowed his face. But the gleam of his eyes could be seen as he watched the hobbits. Maglor, with a dramatic backdrop for his Noldolante. How do ye of uncouth race dare to demand aught of me, EluThingol, Lord of Beleriand, whose life began by the waters of Cuivienen, years uncounted ere the fathers of the stunted people awoke? And standing tall and proud among them, he bade them with shameful words begone, unrequited, out of Doriath. Then the lust of the dwarves was kindled to rage by the words of the king, and they rose up about him, and laid hands on him, and slew him as he stood. And they beheld with wonder the shining jewel of Feanor, and they were filled with a great lust to possess them, and carry them off to their far homes in the mountains. There were none more beautiful than Melian, nor more wise, nor more skill in songs of enchantment. Then Fingolfin beheld, as it seemed to him, the utter ruin of the Noldor and the defeat beyond redress of all their houses. And filled with wrath and despair, he mounted upon Rochallor, his great horse, and rode forth alone, and none might restrain him. Fingolfin was the strongest, the most steadfast, and the most valiant. He passed over Dornu Fauglith like a wind amid the dust, and all who beheld his onset fled in amaze. For Feanor was made the mightiest in all parts of body and mind, in valour, in endurance, in beauty, in understanding, in skill, in strength and subtlety alike, of all the children of Ilúvatar, and a bright flame was in him. Then he began a long and secret labour, and he summoned all his lore, and his power, and his subtle skill. And at the end of all, he made the Silmarils. Therefore, even in the darkness of the deepest treasury, the Silmarils of their own radiance shone like the stars of Varda. And yet, as were they indeed living things, they rejoiced in light, and received it and gave it back in hues more marvellous than before. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe, like the video if you want to help me out here, and of course, have a look at my Silmarillion soundtrack, written for you to immerse yourself and to take you on a journey to the first age of Arda, full of splendour, glory, grandeur, and the bitter sweetness. Enjoy.